Toxic people have a way of creeping into our lives, at work, in friendships, or even within our families. And if we're not careful, they can drain our energy, hijack our peace, and leave us. Second, guessing ourselves. The key to being truly unbothered by them isn't about becoming cold or emotionless. It's about clarity. One of the most powerful things you can do is learn how to recognize toxic patterns without personalizing them. And that starts with realizing that how someone treats you is a reflection of them, not a definition of you. When someone is constantly negative, manipulative, critical, or dismissive, it's tempting to internalize their behavior. You might start wondering, did I do something wrong, or why don't they like me? But the truth is, toxic people project their own inner turmoil outward. They often operate from a place of insecurity, fear, or unresolved pain, and they use others as emotional dumping grounds. If you keep taking that personally, you'll get caught in an endless cycle of trying to fix something that was never yours to fix. Here's the shift: observe, don't absorb. It takes emotional discipline to see a toxic pattern and not immediately attach it to your identity. When someone lashes out at you or tries to belittle your accomplishments, it's more about their discomfort with themselves than any flaw in you. That doesn't mean you should excuse their behavior, but it does mean you don't have to wear it like a label. You don't have to internalize their chaos. You can witness it for what it is and choose not to carry it. Being unbothered doesn't mean being numb. It means being wise. When someone is toxic, your power lies in not taking the bait. You might notice that they twist conversations, make passive-aggressive comments, or constantly play the victim. Once you start recognizing these patterns, you can create space between their actions and your emotions. Instead of reacting with frustration or hurt, you respond with understanding and then, if needed, with distance. You also have to remind yourself regularly, their words do not define you. Toxic people thrive on control and reaction. They push buttons to get a rise out of you because it reinforces their power. But once you stop feeding that cycle, once you stop reacting, you start reclaiming your energy. And the more you practice that non-reaction, the more you train your nervous system to stay calm and grounded in situations that used to rattle you. Now, part of recognizing toxic patterns also means being honest with yourself. Are you making excuses for them? Are you normalizing dysfunction because it's familiar? Sometimes, especially in close relationships, we tolerate bad behavior under the label of loyalty or love. But love without respect isn't love, and loyalty to someone who consistently disrespects your boundaries isn't strength, it's self-neglect. So being unbothered also requires courage, the courage to see clearly, the courage to stop personalizing their dysfunction, and the courage to protect your peace without guilt. Some toxic people are subtle. They're not screaming or throwing insults, but they're constantly draining you with their negativity, controlling energy, or manipulative tactics. They leave you feeling confused, guilty, or small. That's when awareness becomes your superpower. Start noticing how you feel after spending time with certain people. If you leave interactions feeling heavy, anxious, or doubting yourself, that's information. Trust that. Your emotional response is a form of intelligence, and while it's easy to say, just don't take it personally, it's a process. You might still feel the sting of a cruel comment or the weight of someone's judgment, but each time you remind yourself that their behavior isn't about you, you chip away at their power. You build a stronger inner foundation. You learn to stand in your truth even when others try to twist it. This mindset won't make toxic people disappear, but it will make them irrelevant. They'll no longer control how you see yourself or how you move through the world. And that's the real win. You stop needing to prove yourself, defend yourself, or fix their mess. You stop dancing with their dysfunction. You start choosing peace again and again, regardless of the chaos around you. And that peace, that's how you win. Being unbothered by toxic people isn't just about ignoring them. It's about taking intentional action to protect your mental and emotional space. And one of the most powerful actions you can take is setting boundaries. Not just setting them, but setting them like a boss. Boundaries are not walls, they're doors with locks. You get to choose who comes in, how long they stay, and what kind of energy they bring. And the moment you start enforcing those boundaries, you'll notice something. The right people will respect them, and the wrong people will get uncomfortable, and that's exactly the point. Toxic people don't like boundaries because they can't manipulate or control someone who knows their worth. When you begin drawing lines in the sand, they'll often push back. They might guilt-trip you, accuse you of being selfish, or act offended. But their reaction isn't your responsibility, your well-being is. Setting a boundary might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to people, pleasing or avoiding conflict. But discomfort is temporary. Regret from letting someone violate your peace lasts much longer. You don't need to yell. You don't need to over-explain. And you definitely don't need to apologize for having standards. Setting boundaries isn't about being mean. It's about being clear. Clear communication is kind. For example, if someone constantly dumps negativity on you and leaves you emotionally exhausted, you can say, "I care about you, but I don't have the capacity to absorb this right now." If someone continually disrespects your time or your values, you can say, "That doesn't work for me." You don't owe anyone a long speech to justify why you refuse to be mistreated. Toxic people often depend on your silence. They thrive when you're too polite to speak up, too scared to draw the line, or too unsure of yourself to walk away. But once you realize that your peace is priceless, you'll stop giving people unlimited access to it. You don't have to match their energy. You don't have to argue, clap back, or get emotional. You just have to be firm. Your no can be calm. Your "I'm not available for this" can be direct. And your distance can be quiet but powerful. It's also important to remember that boundaries aren't just for others. They're for you too. You're teaching yourself what you will and won't tolerate. You're building a framework for how you move through relationships. When you set a boundary and stick to it, you reinforce your self-respect. You're telling yourself, "I matter, my time matters, my peace matters." And once you believe that, others start believing it too, or they leave. Either way, you win. There will be times when a toxic person pushes you to feel guilty. They may accuse you of being too sensitive, difficult, or cold. That's just manipulation wearing a fake concern mask. Don't fall for it. You are not being difficult for protecting your peace. You are not being selfish for putting yourself first. You are not wrong for refusing to be mistreated, dismissed, or emotionally drained. Let them think what they want. You're not living for their approval. You're living for your freedom. A lot of people stay trapped in toxic cycles because they fear being seen as the bad guy when they set boundaries. But here's the truth. Peace often requires disappointing people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. You're not being unkind. You're being honest about what you need. And any relationship that can't survive mutual respect isn't a relationship worth protecting. You may also notice that once you start enforcing boundaries, you gain mental clarity. The noise dies down, the emotional tug-of-war stops. You start feeling lighter, more in control, and more connected to yourself. That's the gift of boundaries. They don't just keep toxic people out, they bring your power back in. Suddenly, you're not reacting to every insult, trying to fix every mess, or chasing validation. You're grounded, you're calm, you're unbothered. And once you get a taste of that peace, you'll never want to go back. You'll start protecting your time, your energy, and your emotional bandwidth like it's sacred because it is. You'll start surrounding yourself with people who respect your boundaries without being told twice. People who don't drain you, compete with you, or play mind games. And the moment you stop giving toxic people front row access to your life, you make space for the kind of connections that build you up instead of break you down. So if someone's behavior makes you feel small, anxious, or constantly on edge, don't second guess your decision to pull back. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to you just because they're familiar or because they once held a role in your life. Growth requires pruning, peace requires space, and boundaries, firm, loving, unapologetic boundaries, are the tools that allow you to stay unbothered in a world full of noise. That's how you protect your peace. There's something incredibly powerful about mastering the art of non-reaction. When you're dealing with toxic people, the most unexpected and effective thing you can do is not react. Because that's exactly what they want. They want to provoke you, pull you into their drama, push your buttons, and watch you spiral. Every time you respond with anger, frustration, or even defensiveness, they win a little more power over your emotional state. But when you stay calm, when you choose silence or neutrality instead of escalation, you take that power back. It's not always easy. Some toxic people are experts at knowing just what to say to make you doubt yourself, to make you feel small, or to make you question your worth. They twist words, bring up the past, or throw subtle jabs masked as jokes. And the old version of you might have taken the bait every time, fighting to be understood, defending your character, proving your intentions. But here's the thing. People who want to misunderstand you will do it no matter how much you explain. And people committed to chaos will drag you into it if you're not grounded. So the shift begins with intention. Instead of asking, how can I get them to stop? Start asking, how can I stay centered no matter what they do? That's what being unbothered truly means. Not that toxic people disappear, but that they lose the ability to shake you. You learn to pause before reacting. You learn to breathe instead of bite. And you learn to let some things slide, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. Silence is not surrender. It's strength. It's strategy. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. When someone throws a passive-aggressive comment your way, instead of snapping back, you meet it with a calm look and no response. When someone tries to bait you into an argument, you don't take the hook. That silence sends a clear message. I'm not playing this game. And eventually, toxic people get bored. They thrive on chaos, but when there's no fuel, their fire dies out. It's important to understand that not reacting doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means processing them in a healthy space, not on their stage. Toxic people want an audience. They want to feel powerful by getting a rise out of you. But when you stop performing, the spotlight fades. You start doing your emotional work privately, with people you trust, or within yourself, not in front of someone who's only going to twist your words and weaponize your vulnerability. This approach takes self-discipline. It takes emotional maturity, because everything in you might want to fight back, defend yourself, or prove them wrong. But ask yourself this: what do I gain by reacting? If the answer is nothing but more stress, more drama, and more emotional exhaustion, then the answer becomes clear: choose peace instead. Responding with calmness is not a weakness. It's a decision to value your peace more than their chaos. Now, you won't always get it right. There will be moments when someone's words sting, and your emotions rise before your logic can catch up. That's okay. This is not about perfection. It's about progress. Every time you choose stillness over reaction, you grow stronger. Every time you walk away instead of argue, you rise above, and eventually, it becomes second nature. You start catching yourself in real time saying, I don't need to respond to this. I don't need to prove anything. I'm allowed to be calm even when they're not. When you adopt this mindset, your life changes. You stop feeling like a puppet being yanked around by other people's emotional strings. You become the calm in the storm. Toxic people will still do what they do, but they'll find out quickly that their drama doesn't stick to you anymore. You've become slippery to their nonsense, and once they see that you can't be baited, that you won't give them the reaction they crave, they start realizing that you're not an easy target anymore. And what you'll notice is this: the more you stop reacting, the more peaceful your mind becomes. You free up emotional space. You start using your energy for things that actually matter: your goals, your healing, your growth, your joy. That's the reward of non-reaction. Not only do you protect yourself from toxic people, but you also create a life where you are in control of how you feel, how you respond, and where your energy flows. So the next time someone tries to pull you into a toxic exchange, remember, you don't owe anyone your energy. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You can walk away, you can stay silent, you can protect your peace without a word. And that right there, that's the kind of power no one can take from you. That's how you stay unbothered. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop giving toxic people the focus they crave and start redirecting your attention inward. The more you concentrate on your own energy instead of their noise, the more unbothered you become. Because here's the truth: you can't control how toxic people act, but you can absolutely control how much of your mind, time, and peace they're allowed to occupy. And when you commit to protecting your energy like it's sacred, the drama loses its grip on you. Toxic people love to steal focus. They create chaos and then expect you to participate in it. They want you to constantly be reacting, adjusting, explaining, and doubting yourself. That's how they control the narrative, by keeping you so distracted by them that you forget about you. But when you start shifting the spotlight back to your own energy, you change the story. Instead of obsessing over what they said or did, you ask yourself, how am I doing today? What do I need to feel grounded? What deserves my attention right now? That mental shift is everything. It pulls you out of survival mode and puts you back in a place of power. Toxic people thrive when you're focused on fixing them, figuring them out, or proving yourself to them. But the moment you stop giving them that energy, they start fading into the background, not because they've changed, but because you have. You're no longer available for the games, the guilt trips, or the emotional roller coasters. You've got better things to do. And let's be real, your energy is your currency. You spend it every day on thoughts, emotions, people, situations. So ask yourself, are you investing that energy into things that build you up or things that drain you? Are you pouring your time and mental bandwidth into someone who constantly disrespects you, or into your goals, your healing, your peace? The more you value your energy, the more intentional you become about where you place it. You learn that not every conversation deserves a response. Not every insult requires your defense, and not every person gets access to your mental space. This is where real peace starts to grow, not from changing the toxic people around you, but from mastering the way you protect yourself from their chaos. You begin to build a kind of inner sanctuary. You check in with yourself more often. You get curious about your triggers, your needs, your emotional patterns. And as you build that self-awareness, you become less reactive to others and more connected to yourself. Their noise becomes background static, while your own voice grows louder and clearer. This doesn't mean you pretend like toxic people don't exist. It means you stop letting them take the lead in your emotional life. You stop letting their moods dictate your peace. You stop letting their dysfunction pull you off track. Instead of waking up thinking about what they said yesterday, You wake up thinking about how you want to feel today. You get selective. You create routines that center you. You move through your day asking, does this feed my peace or feed the problem? You also learn that protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's survival. It's how you make sure you don't lose yourself in someone else's chaos. It's how you maintain your joy in environments that are constantly trying to steal it. It's how you stay grounded, no matter who's trying to shake you. Because when your energy is strong, toxic people become powerless. They can't disturb your balance if you're already anchored. The best part, the more you focus on your energy, the more magnetic you become. You start attracting better situations, healthier people, and more aligned opportunities, not because you're chasing them, but because you're radiating calm, confidence, and clarity. You're no longer moving from a place of reaction, but from a place of intention. That's the kind of vibe that toxic people can't touch, and that's exactly the point. Of course, this takes practice. Some days you'll get pulled back into old patterns. You'll find yourself replaying conversations in your head or getting caught up in someone's negativity. But every time you catch yourself and redirect your focus, you strengthen that muscle. You remind yourself, this is not worth my energy. I have better things to focus on. And slowly, those toxic triggers lose their power. You rise above, not because you're pretending, but because you've outgrown the chaos. So if someone's drama is demanding your attention, pause and ask yourself, is this worth the energy I'm about to spend? And if the answer is no, then let it go gently, quietly, confidently, because you have more important things to focus on than proving your worth to someone who's committed to misunderstanding it. That's how you stay unbothered. One of the most liberating truths you can accept on your journey to becoming truly unbothered is that not everyone deserves a place in your life. It sounds simple, but the reality is we often hold on to people out of habit, guilt, obligation, or even fear. We tell ourselves that we have to keep them around because they're family, because they've been there a long time, or because we're scared of being alone. But here's the truth. Just because someone has a history with you doesn't mean they deserve a future with you, especially if they constantly drain, disrespect, or destabilize your peace. Letting go of toxic people is one of the hardest yet most necessary things you'll ever do if you want to protect your mental and emotional space. It doesn't always mean a dramatic breakup or cutting someone off overnight. Sometimes it's a slow release, a quiet distancing, a gradual detachment that comes from realizing, I love myself too much to keep tolerating this. It's not bitterness, it's clarity. You stop fighting for a seat at tables where you're not respected. You stop begging for someone to treat you right. You stop shrinking yourself to keep someone else comfortable. When you let go of toxic people, you create room for peace, for growth, for better relationships. You're no longer weighed down by someone else's drama or insecurities. You're no longer spending your days recovering from emotional wounds that someone keeps reopening. You're free, and that freedom, that's when the real healing begins. That's when you start to breathe deeper, sleep better, and think clearer. Because now, your nervous system isn't constantly on high alert trying to survive someone's unpredictable behavior. A lot of times, the fear of letting go is rooted in the fear of being alone. You worry, what if I don't find better? What if I miss them? What if I'm overreacting? But that fear is just a byproduct of long-term emotional conditioning. Toxic people often convince you that you need them, or that no one else will get you. They create dependency, not connection. And once you break that pattern, you start realizing that peace is far more valuable than proximity. You start choosing your well-being over their presence. You realize that being alone with your thoughts is better than being together in constant emotional pain. Letting go doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean you wish them harm. It simply means you've chosen to stop allowing someone else's dysfunction to interrupt your growth. You can forgive someone and still walk away. You can send them love from afar and still delete the thread, decline the call, and not invite them back in. Forgiveness is for your heart. Boundaries are for your protection. Both can exist at the same time. And sometimes it's not about one big toxic event. It's the slow erosion of your energy, your confidence, your joy. It's the way you feel after every interaction, exhausted, second, guessing yourself, or emotionally numb. That's when you know it's time to reevaluate, because real connection should energize you, not deplete you. It should feel safe, not like you're walking on eggshells. If someone's presence consistently brings confusion, guilt, or anxiety, they don't belong in the sacred space that is your life. Letting go is an act of self-love. It's telling yourself, I matter enough to step away from anything that harms me, even if I once cared deeply for it. And with every person you release, you teach yourself how to trust your intuition more. You become more protective of your space, more selective about your inner circle, and more aware of what you truly deserve. You also begin to realize that walking away from toxic people doesn't make you cold. It makes you conscious. You're not rejecting connection, you're rejecting chaos, you're not being unkind, you're being honest about what no longer serves you. And the more you do that, the easier it becomes. You no longer need closure or long explanations. You no longer need to convince anyone of your worth. You simply move on, with peace, with clarity, and with the knowledge that you are no longer emotionally available for dysfunction. And here's the beautiful part. When you let go of the wrong people, the right ones start to show up. People who respect your boundaries, who match your energy, who bring calm instead of conflict. People who make you feel seen, not scrutinized. People who remind you that healthy love exists not just in romance, but in friendships, families, and communities. So don't be afraid to choose peace over history. Don't feel guilty for releasing people who were never meant to stay. And don't let fear convince you to hold on to what's hurting you. You are allowed to evolve beyond relationships that keep you stuck. You are allowed to let go quietly and powerfully. That's how you stay unbothered.